This is my African vacation iMovie. This summer, I decided to take a trip to Africa. This is a diagram that shows my flight from the United States to Africa. My landing point was in Cape Town, South Africa. Cape Town is home to 19 vegetation types and is the only habitat for hundreds of endemic species. This is the view from my airplane window, looking down at Cape Town, South Africa. As soon as I landed in Cape Town, I decided to visit the Castle of Good Hope. The shape of the pentagonal castle was used on many South African Defense Force flags and South African Air Force flags. After the Castle of Good Hope, I decided to have a beach day at Camps Bay. The largest white sand beach in Camps Bay is the Blue Flag Beach. Later in the day, I decided to go for an aerial cable ride to Table Mountain. Table Mountain has well-documented climbing routes that go up many faces of the mountain. Later in the evening, I left the group to visit an attraction of my own, so I went to Robben Island. Robben Island is where Nelson Mandela, the former South African president, was imprisoned for trying to stop apartheid. After my visit through South Africa, I traveled up north to the Kalahari Desert in Botswana to visit the Kgalagadi Transfrontier Park. This park is the home to many wildlife, especially the blue wildebeest. At Kgalagadi, you can see many wildlife there. The wildlife there that I saw were some giraffes. Since I was in Botswana, I went up to Chobe National Park. Chobe National Park surrounds Namibia, Angola, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. While I was there, I saw 6 different types of wildlife. The first type of wildlife was the wildebeest. Not all wildebeest migrate to the same place. Giraffes can also be found at Chobe National Park. The habitats for giraffes are savannas, grasslands, and woodlands. At Chobe National Park, you can always see elephants. There are 2 different types of species of elephants that can be recognized. The types of elephants around Africa and in Chobe National Park are African elephants. Zebras can also be found at Chobe National Park. The stripes on a zebra are caused by a combination of factors. At Chobe National Park, you can see hippopotamuses. Hippopotamuses are smaller than elephants and rhinoceroses. Finally, you can see some antelopes at Chobe National Park. Some antelopes have permanent horns that they use to defend themselves from other animals that are trying to attack them. After Botswana, I traveled up northeast to see Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe. The width of the largest waterfall in the world is 5,604 feet and the height is 354 feet. The Upper Zambezi River and the Middle Zambezi River are considered the boundary of Victoria Falls. These rivers flow through 6 countries before flowing back into the Indian Ocean. While I was at Victoria Falls, I did 2 incredible activities that were amazing. The first thing I did was I took a helicopter tour over Victoria Falls. Later at night, I took a sunset boat cruise over Victoria Falls to watch the sunset. The next day, I went up north to Uganda to go to Kibale Forest National Park. Within Kibale Forest National Park, there are 22 species of trees within the moist tropical forest. At Kibale Forest National Park, you can see many wildlife everywhere. Some wildlife that I saw while I was at Kibale Forest National Park were elephants. When I was on a tour at Kibale Forest National Park, I learned along the way that there are 13 species of primates that live in Kibale Forest National Park. After visiting Kibale Forest National Park in Uganda, I traveled east to its neighboring country, Kenya, to visit the capital, Nairobi, to see how life is in Nairobi, Kenya. Having a job in Nairobi means not getting paid a lot. Sector workers in Nairobi live on low wages of $20,000 a week. The poverty in Nairobi is really bad. The poverty is basically food shortages and a lack of basic resources. 42% of the population live under the poverty line. After visiting Nairobi, Kenya, I decided to go further east and do something dangerous yet totally exciting. I decided to head to Mogadishu, Somalia. Mogadishu was traditionally served as a commercial and financial center. In Mogadishu, some tourists are warned about ever visiting here because of all the bad stuff that happens. But I took the risk and I traveled on. I visited the National Museum of Somalia, and I did some other things while I was there as well. At the end of the day, I decided to go down to a beach to watch the sunset, so I went to Berbera Seaside to end my day in Mogadishu, Somalia. Then before I knew it, my final day in Africa was here. I decided to spend it in Timbuktu, Mali. In Timbuktu, some inhabitants speak a Songhai language called Koyajini, even though the official language in Mali is French. In Timbuktu, there is so much priceless architecture in the city. The one thing I saw there was Sankore University. Sankore University was made because Timbuktu is thriving for scholarships. Finally, to close on my vacation, I went to see the Djingu River Mosque. This famous mosque was constructed entirely out of mud brick, but it's actually known as earthen architecture. This map shows my journey throughout Africa from my first stop at Cape Town, South Africa, to my final stop in Timbuktu, Mali. And that's the end.